Hello everybody, welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, narrated by Disney, Oracle and Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it, Legends. I don't know if my tone of voice can indicate anything. Today I am reviewing a Clone Wars 2008 by Dave Filoni tie-in novel by Karen Miller called Wild Space. I also have 2 episodes from the Clone Wars TV show to talk about, which were both from Season 1. I didn't write down the episode titles because I don't care enough to, but it's Season 1, Episodes 6 and 7. I'll just quickly say, before you read this book, back to Star Wars Photo Comic, the webcomic online, you have the Fall of Falleen, which happens right before Episode 6, so you would read that, then you would watch Episode 6. You'll see why I say that, because the book kind of gets into that a little bit. I don't really have any spoiler notes or anything, so don't gotta worry about that. What can I say before even getting into the story? I don't want to be rude, and I don't want to be mean. Making a book is hard work. I understand that. It's not easy to make a book. Like, I can critique all I want. I can praise all I want. I'm not a book writer. I don't write books. So I cannot talk as to how hard and stuff that may be. I can't, because I don't do that. Also, the lighting is kind of weird. I don't know why. But this book feels like fan fiction. Not like the erotic fan fiction, but just like somebody wanted to write about Anakin and Obi-Wan having coffee one day, and then wrote a little story about it. Now, sometimes, depending on the writer, I could be all for that. They could be picking their noses for all I'd care, and I'd be interested because it's those characters and it's that writer. And I'm really surprised on my opinions on this book, because I am the guy. If it's about character-driven stories where it has main plot point is just a cherry on top. What matters is the character development, the character interactions, the characters. Traitor by Matthew Stover, one of the books in the New Jedi Order, is like 95% talking. But because of the writer, because of the author, because of the dialogue, because of how it's written, I was ingrained in it. I was engrossed in it. I finished that book in a day because of how invested I was in the story. This book, Traitor, there's no dead time. Everything that happens in it is important. There is so much fluff in here. So much things being said, I feel like, just to be said, that is not necessary. I sound really negative. There are aspects to this book that I like. However, I think overall it's a net negative. I think overall this is a bad book. And this is supposed to be one of Karen Miller's better books. Because everybody always talks about the infamous Stealth and Siege, or Stealth and Gambit, or whatever the hell they're called, by Karen Miller, saying how those are dull and boring. That's how I felt about 95% of this book. So I am terrified to go into those 2 books. But of course I will, because I'm going to go through everything in chronological order as best I personally, apart from Matt Wilkins, know how. The main plot point that doesn't even get introduced until like 200 pages into the novel. Okay, it's probably a little bit before that. It's probably like 150 or something. But still, it takes like 100-something pages to get into the main plot point of the book, which is Bail Organa and Obi-Wan Kenobi going on a mission to some Sith planet which never existed before because Karen Miller just made it up in this book, and building a friendship there because in episode 2 we know that, you know, Obi-Wan does not like politicians, but then he's like kind of friends with Bail Organa in episode 3, and then because of Leia's line in episode 4. How did they become friends? This book gives you an explanation. And the Bail Organa stuff and the Obi-Wan Kenobi stuff is probably the best part of this book. But even still, that drags on and on and on. Not to mention some of the other stuff. Because it's connected to TCW, there's other stuff that just pisses me off in throughout this book. Like, if you're going to read this book and you care about the expanding universe, you have to. Like, I have to stress how much I hate headcanon. I hate headcanon. I accept everything as canon in the expanding universe, even if I don't personally like it. For instance, Allegiance, Choices of One. This book, I don't like those stories. I think they're overall bad, but I'm still going to accept them as happening within the universe because that's what Lucasfilm said at the time, that they're a part of the universe. So it does not matter what my opinion is. It does not matter what headcanon I want to put. It happened. Their word is law. My word is not. However, with TCW stuff, it just did not care and did whatever the hell it wanted and threw the EU completely out of whack. And because Filoni decided to disregard the EU with reckless abandon and make things so much harder on the rest of us, I can do the same when it comes to his continuity. So the only way you can get through this book and be sane is if you ignore the dates. You have to ignore the dates in this book because this book goes under the assumption of what the Filoni Clone Wars show says, which is that Anakin got knighted 6 months into the Clone Wars, which is not physically possible. It did not happen. He did not get a Padawan within 6 months. It did not happen. It doesn't matter what Filoni Clone Wars says. Filoni was so happy to throw out the expanding universe that I can chuck out anything he says for the sake of my sanity. So, of course, because Karen Miller's making a book tied to that, when you could have easily just not mentioned dates at all, saved us a whole lot of trouble, you just have to chuck that out. You have to ignore it if you're going to enjoy the expanding universe. Now, will you enjoy this book probably even more if you are a fan of only canon? Probably, because then you have a lot less issues here. Everything will fit much better. However, this is still labeled a Legends book. But you could easily fit this into canon with no problems. That's another thing. Like, having more time with Obi-Wan, having more time with Bail Organa, establishing that friendship, that's all great and all, but so many of this is a retread of stuff we've seen. And it's like, if you only watched the Clone Wars and then read this book, you probably really enjoy this book because you have nothing else to compare it to. And that's the entire issue with as I'm re-going through the Clone Wars as well, suffering through that, because honestly, it's becoming a job. Like, right now, in this era of Star Wars that I'm in right now, I mean, I have a couple things to maybe look forward to, unless I end up hating it, like Matt Wilkins and Quality Autism. Awesome people on YouTube you should go check out, by the way. You know, I have a couple more Republic Commando novels. Now, if I love those, then that's going to be a palate cleanser, but if I don't like them, like a lot of people I respect on YouTube don't, then I'm just going to be miserable for the next, like, couple months that I'm stuck here. And that's just how it's going to be. It's become a job now, instead of something I'm genuinely enjoying doing. And I have to admit that, for the sake of my sanity, for the sake of honesty with all of you, it has become a job. It is, apart from the job that I already go to, that I get paid for, this is what I'm coming home to do on my free time, which is to suffer and do more work for the sake of the reviews. But that's how it is. That's how it's going to be. And I still have so much in the EU to look forward to. I just have to chug along through this part. But yeah, I hate headcanon. But because of Dave Filoni, I have to, with his whole series, I have to. This is why I completely understand why so many fans have decided to just eject Filoni's Clone Wars from the continuity. However, it has Legends banner. Lucasfilm considers it to be Legends. EU content. Which means I must as well, whether I like it or not, so I must figure out how to shoehorn it in here. Ahsoka's annoying in this book, constantly calling him Sky Guy. You know my issues with that if you've watched my previous videos. The book begins like right after episode 2. That was a decent part of the book. Having Obi-Wan know that something was up with Padme and Anakin and telling them to quit it. And then Padme immediately after going to Naboo with Anakin and getting married. I thought that worked really well. Because it means that Obi-Wan's not stupid. He suspected there was something. Told him to quit it. Padme said she agreed, and so he assumes that nothing's going on. I mean, I'm sure he realizes that connection will always be there. So he probably always recognizes that throughout the Clone Wars. But he had asked her to quit it with him. And she had said she did. So that's probably why he didn't, But maybe he did think that, maybe they're back at it again. But I don't know. But that was one good part of the book. Then we meander and meander and meander. Stuck on Coruscant. Constant talking ahead. Oh, Qui-Gon. Oh, this. Like, yeah, there's some cool mentions of Melinda Dan and stuff from the Jedi Apprentice series. Anakin goes on a mission, so Obi-Wan's talking to him, and that's where episode 6 comes in. And it just meanders, meanders, meanders. There's scenes with Padme Amidala talking with Bail Organa. They're like, oh, they're kind of flirtatious, but they both can't be together. They're both married. It's like weird fanfiction-y sort of things going on here. The best part of this book, probably for me, being just freaking Palpatine being like, yeah, I don't give a crap about Dooku. Man, Anakin's coming along nicely. I can't wait to get the freaking old loser out of my hair so I can have this new young apprentice. And I don't know, I feel like nobody really does wrong with Palpatine in most instances, and he's just a fun guy to actually be inside his head and just hear him trash talking people is a good time. But even once the main plot actually gets initiated, and Obi-Wan and Bail Organa make it to the Sith planet, everything with the Sith planet is boring. The only thing trudging you along is Obi-Wan and Bail connecting as characters, and that stuff is nice. Explaining why they're friends, because Obi-Wan's not supposed to like politicians, but he's friends with Padme and Bail, so that was fine. Also, another issue, I mean, I can't really place it anywhere else. This is where I have to place it for sake of my sanity. I have to place it in the final year, because it's the only way for me to cope with Anakin having an apprentice and having the long hair and the scar. I can't just have him have long hair and a scar before that even happens in the comics. Like, I can't do that to myself. Like, I don't know how, Matt Wilkins in his original series, now he's doing his reread series, of course. I mean, as of right now, he has issue 30 of the Knights of the Old Republic video and another Lost Tribe of the Sith video out that he reviewed. But back in his original expanded universe videos in chronological order, he would just like chuck these things around. I'm like, how? He hasn't even gotten his scar yet in the comics, and he still has short hair. How can you possibly put all this stuff here? It's a whole thing. But for the sake of my sanity, I have to put this here. But there are some things that make that seem a bit weird, but I don't know what else to do. But the contradiction is because in the Republic comics, there's a certain issue with Jedi who wanted to test the midichlorian count in Sidious that ended up dead. And by the end of it, Bail doesn't really think that Palpatine is this wise, kind leader anymore. Now he's suspicious, and he's going to constantly fight against Palpatine. He doesn't know that he's a Sith Lord or anything. He just knows that he's not as innocent as he likes to portray himself. And this is where we get more into the episode 3, where everybody starts being suspicious of Palpatine. But that's not the case. I mean, not everybody, of course, just certain people. A lot of people still love Palpatine because they don't know. But Bail, if we're going in my chronological, has already been established as being distrusting. So you kind of just have to ignore everything nice he says about Palpatine in this book. Like, you could put it earlier. It's going to make a whole bunch of more problems if you do that, I think. But, to each their own. Or just chuck it out entirely like some fans do, which, as I keep going through this, I understand why. But I'm suffering because I go by what the Lucasfilm licensing said. So I'm suffering through it. But all the power to those who are able to just chuck it out without making their brain hurt. That's pretty much all I have to say. Do I recommend this book by Karen Miller? No, I don't. If you like the Clone Wars TV show, I still don't think you'll really enjoy this book. But maybe you will. I say choose at your own peril. I would suggest if you want to start getting into the EU, please do not start here. Start with like the Thrawn trilogy, or the X-Wing books, or Darth Plagueis, or Darth Bane, or the Jedi Quest series, or the Republic Commando books, or the Republic comics. Please don't start here. I'm putting this in the same category as Allegiance and Choices of One. I will say I was less bored by it than Cestus Deception. So it has that at least. I don't like to be negative. I love the expanding universe. I love that I'm able to go through it with you guys and share my feelings and my opinions. But I have to be honest when I have to be honest. And this just wasn't a good book. Not to me anyway. There are gems within the garbage. But I've been so spoiled with the EU. And that's the thing. It's like, imagine if you are a homeless person and you are picking up scraps every day and you're getting used to eating those scraps. Sometimes, you know, like in a really good Clone Wars episode, the 2008 one by Dave Filoni, you'll have like a whole pie that some rich family just chucked out because they bought more than they could eat. So they just chucked one whole one out instead of leaving it for leftovers because they're that rich and losers and greedy. So they just chuck it out. And then you find this whole pie ready to be eaten. You're like, oh my god, amazing. And it's a really good pie. But it comes few and far in between. And then one day you get to go be with that rich family. Maybe you're, I don't know, you're dating the daughter or the son of this rich family. Somehow, you know, some Aladdin moment. And you're able to, just go with me on the analogy. And you're able to go for this one night, eat in this lavish, nice place and eat all this delicious food, more than you've ever seen in your life. But you have a bad impression on the father and stuff, so after that day, you're never allowed back in the house and you go back to eating scraps. After that one day, eating all that nice food, the expanding universe, and going back to the scraps, Filoni stuff, it just doesn't taste the same anymore. You're no longer used to it. You've tasted better, and now you have to go back. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh, but not my cup of tea. Before I leave, there's also episode 7 from the Clone Wars. Grievous had a spy, an astromech droid with our heroes. Ahsoka fights General Grievous. I mean, to be fair, she loses, but she survives, which is... I understand it's a kid's show, but she shouldn't have even been able to block a blade from General Grievous. Maybe once. But she should just utterly got her butt handed to her on every occasion. But this one was tolerable because it's not like she beat General Grievous in this episode, but it was just something that should not have happened, but it did. But it did. But yeah, that's basically it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, sharing up's a ton. Don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you as we continue through the Filoniverse era of the Star Wars Expanding Universe. Till next time, guys. May the Force be with you. Bye.